Brian runs a business renting 20 different vehicles on Turo. After the incident we're about to witness, in which a renter totaled a Model 3 Performance, he now has only 19 vehicles in his fleet. His renter was driving the vehicle too fast for the rainy conditions. While attempting to overtake a Lexus, they hydroplaned across the highway. The car spun 180 degrees before smashing into the concrete barrier. The car then slid all the way across the highway before crashing into the barrier on the other side. The renter wasn't hurt, and Brian filed an insurance claim to get the car fixed. The repair bill came to $53,000, so the car was deemed a total loss. Brian says he's waiting for the new Model 3 Project Highland refresh before he'll buy another one for his fleet. Garrick was driving his Model 3 in Sandy Springs, Georgia, when the driver of a white Honda in the left lane tried to avoid a vehicle stopped on the shoulder. In the process, the Honda got pretty close to the blue Dodge in front of Garrick, which prompted the Dodge driver to brake to a complete stop in the middle of the highway. Garrick was forced to stop as well, and after 3 to 4 seconds, his Tesla was Honda bumped at full highway speed. Everyone involved in the accident was okay. The Tesla's safety systems shut it down after the wreck, and it had to be towed away. The Honda driver was found 100% responsible. The Tesla was deemed a total loss after the repair estimate came to $37,000. Harsh was driving his Model 3 in Oshawa, Ontario, when an SUV driver behind him tried to overtake a dump truck. The driver didn't check her blind spot and sideswiped the truck. Harsh stopped and checked on the driver to make sure they were okay. He provided his contact info and was later contacted by a police officer requesting his Teslacam video for his investigation. While driving across the Richmond-San Rafael Bridge, Steve saw a Caltrans maintenance truck crawling along. But he didn't know why it was moving so slowly until he'd passed it. The truck was actually protecting a cyclist who was pedaling across the 4.25-mile span in a highway lane. Maybe the cyclist heard it was okay to bike across the bridge, but didn't know that the protected bicycle and pedestrian lane is actually on the upper level. This Model S owner experienced a performance Honda bump.
Jump in! Honda bumped!
What sucks is that his friend was driving the Honda. But what makes it even worse is that his friend had just made a joke about bumping into his Tesla as revenge for a prank our submitter and some friends had played on him for his birthday. Obviously, the bump was completely unintentional. We're guessing the Honda engaged its Tesla magnets and there was nothing he could do. Our submitter told us his friend feels terrible about it, especially after he just made that joke. They were really good friends and hopefully they still are. Just remember, it was the Honda's fault. A pickup truck this submitter had never seen before pulled up behind him while he was waiting to turn left. The driver began honking and impatiently waving his hands. Our submitter was hesitant to turn since he wasn't sure the oncoming driver turning right would stay in the correct lane, so he waited for a safer opportunity. The pickup driver didn't appreciate his caution and continued honking. After turning, our submitter expressed his frustration by flipping the pickup driver off as he sped past him. Offended, the other driver abruptly stopped. Our submitter didn't want any further escalation, so he quickly accelerated in an attempt to get away. The pickup driver attempted to block the Tesla, but thankfully no contact was made. Even though our submitter drove over a sloped curb, neither his wheels or tires were damaged. He managed to speed past the pickup, putting as much distance between them as possible. Our submitter sent along this message: "Don't flip the finger because you never know how someone will react." Antonio was driving his Model 3 in Van Nuys, California. As he entered an intersection with a green light, he was T-boned by a red light runner. All the airbags deployed a split second before the collision, leaving Antonio thinking, "What the heck?" Then the impact occurred. Antonio told us the car steered to the right and applied the brakes on its own. He used his pocket knife to deflate the massive door airbag. Antonio requested the left pillar camera footage from Tesla as the left repeater and front-facing cameras hadn't captured the car running the red light. Along with the footage, Tesla included a highly detailed collision report. The report includes all data beginning 5 seconds before the impact and ending 5 seconds after. Russ was stopped at a red light when another car rear-ended him. When he got out of his car to talk to the other driver, they started driving away. When he figured out they were fleeing the scene, Russ got back in his car to follow them, but they went too fast into a turn and crashed into a residence right next to the intersection. They weren't done trying to run. They tried pushing the car out, but a wheel broke and law enforcement arrived and was able to stop them.
That's your license plate? Я просто там стояв на red light. It hit me and then просто так bats into there. Хотіли тікти.
Russ noted that the other driver was being tested for DUI as he left the scene. Between the police report and the Teslacam footage, the other driver was easily found completely at fault. Russ is still waiting for a repair estimate. Ranj was on the way to drop his kids off when the Volvo in front of him suddenly stopped. His Tesla's automatic emergency braking activated, but the driver behind him didn't stop in time. Even though it only looked like a light tap, the initial repair estimate came to 4,000 Australian dollars, over 2,500 US dollars. Jason was driving in the center lane when another driver suddenly cut him off without signaling. A second later, they slammed on the brakes. Jason does think his Tesla reacted, but there just wasn't enough time to stop, and he rear-ended the Mazda. The Mazda driver claimed they had changed lanes before stopping for a red light, but the Teslacam proved that was a lie. Jason let them watch his Teslacam footage right there in his car, at which point they became very quiet. We can't be sure, but it almost looks like the Mazda driver intended to cause a collision. Thankfully, the video footage proved Jason wasn't at fault. Fixing his Tesla cost about 12,000 US dollars. Joe was obeying the speed limit while driving in a thunderstorm when a black pickup truck approached from behind at over 90 miles per hour. The truck barely avoided rear-ending Joe, still managing to graze the rear bumper cover and the side of the car. The pickup, which had no license plates, continued to speed ahead, weaving through traffic. Joe chased the driver down, and he eventually stopped and asked why Joe was following him. Joe told him that he'd hit his car, but he replied by telling Joe that he was crazy. When Joe pointed out his Tesla's paint on the truck's bumper, he said he couldn't see Joe's car because his windshield wipers were broken. When Joe asked why he'd been driving so fast, he said he was running out of gas. He then attempted to flee the scene. Fortunately, the police arrived just in time and stopped him. He then told the police that he'd been obeying the speed limit and that he'd only hit Joe after Joe had drifted into his lane. Joe is so grateful for the Teslacam feature. Without it, the other guy's insurance provider might have taken their customer's side. Bilal was making a quick trip for some takeout. He was about to enter the parking lot when he witnessed a black Lexus run a red light and T-bone a Toyota. Bilal believes all the passengers were okay, and he saw another witness calling the police, so he didn't stick around. Matt was using autopilot in a carpool lane when traffic came to a halt. The driver behind him slammed on their brakes, but the next one back wasn't able to stop in time. The car behind him was rear-ended and was nearly pushed into Matt's Tesla. Thanks to the Tesla's instant torque, he was able to accelerate just in time to avoid being hit. While taking an off-ramp to I-95, Ron was rear-ended by a Jeep driver. First responders were notified and responded, but Ron's Teslacam footage makes it very clear who's at fault. He's still waiting for a repair estimate, but he's afraid of how expensive it might be to fix his Model Y since the trunk is now misaligned and can't be opened. He did tell us he considers himself lucky just to be alive. Sham was at his friend's place and had parked 2 houses away due to a lack of available parking. Suddenly, he got a phone notification informing him that the car alarm had been activated. He quickly ran out to see what had happened and noticed that his car door was dented and the door handle was stuck. At first, the owners of the Dodge Charger denied hitting his car, but when he told them he had footage of the incident, they changed their story and said it had only been a light impact. Sham kept insisting they watch the footage for themselves, but they refused. The cost of repairs came to $8,700 US, and the insurance company found the other party entirely at fault. Thankfully, nobody was hurt, but if it hadn't been for his Tesla's cameras, Sham thinks the other driver would have kept denying that the collision had occurred. Obviously, we're also grateful for Tesla cams, and we're so blessed to be able to make videos for you to enjoy. We hope you're satisfied.
Wham, bam, we got a Patreon man. Please support the show.